Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities, living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.
Hello everyone, welcome to Kaigangan Biodiversity webinar series. In March 2022, Ms. Elaine presented about the biodiversity of forests over limestone in Samar Island Natural Park, or also known as the SINP. Her study aimed to provide information on the outcomes of the plant and animal biodiversity in SINP. Second, to describe the tree community structure in SINP. Third, to highlight the significance of the nomination of SINP as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site. This was conducted specifically in Paranas and Taft, Eastern Samar, a province in the Philippines located in the Eastern Visayas region. Some of the highlight of the results of her study are the identification of some ecologically important amphibians, for example, the Philippine endemic Platymantis guentheri. In terms of reptiles, a very interesting one example is the Lycodon dumerillii, which exhibits a widespread distribution and has been documented throughout the Mindanao Paeg, or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. Ms. Elaine discussed also about her interesting findings on birds, for example, the Bucerus hydrocorax semigaleatus, also known as the Philippine hornbill, a large species of hornbill endemic to the Philippines. In terms of flora, she found this new island record species, for example, the Tectaria calcarea, a fern or herb species with native range in the Philippines. Overall, Ms. Elaine emphasized that SINP is indeed worthy of its nomination as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site because of its natural and cultural significance. The following month, Ms. Ren D. Obenya successfully presented a very good study on some threatened woody plant species of forest over limestone in the Philippine Islands. The study determined the threatened woody plant species in the forest over limestone in the Philippines and discussed the threats of the forest over limestone in the country. And of course, Samar Island is one of her study sites in addition to Cebu and Batangas sites. Ms. Ren presented the list of critically endangered species based on the Philippine DAO Red List and the IUCN Red List. She also made an emphasis on economic uses of some of the identified threatened woody plant species in her study sites. For example, the Shirrea nigrocensis, a Philippine endemic pterocarp species, and our very own Tectona philippinensis with known natural populations in Batangas and in Mindoro. The third one is the Aquilaria cumingiana, a source of agarwood, a highly prized resin with many economic values. And the fourth example is the Hopea philippinensis, which is also a Philippine endemic dipterocarp species. Part of the study is the identification of threats and conservation concerns in the study site. For example, the limestone quarrying, deforestation, illegal logging, among others. Ms. Ren concluded the presentation by highlighting the potential contribution of her study to sustainable development goals. In May 2022, UPLB Assistant Professor Deza Marie Antoinette Fernandez gave us new insights into biodiversity of forest over limestone in Caloocan Island, Giwan, Eastern Samar, Philippines. She also did biodiversity assessment in the study site for both flora and fauna. Interestingly, Assistant Professor Fernandez recorded 41 plant species belonging to 18 families, of which 5 species are Philippine endemics, 9 threatened species based on the IUCN Red List, and 5 threatened species based on the DAO 2017-11 Red List. And these are some of the photographs of the plant species she identified. Walachodendron salabicum, which is locally known as banuyo, Aquilaria cumingiana, which is one of the agarwood-producing Aquilaria species found in the Philippines, and Hansea wenzeliana, also one of the identified endangered species based on the IUCN Red List. For fauna component, 21 vertebrate species were recorded, of which 6 are documented throughout the Mindanao Paeg or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. And here are some of the photographs of the vertebrate species she recorded from the study site. Just last month, we learned a lot from UPLB Assistant Professor Marjorie de Los Angeles, who discussed about the ecology of understory plants of forest over limestone in Samar Island, Philippines. She documented plant understory species in forests over limestones and described the pattern of plant distribution with reference to ecological parameters using multivariate tools in Paranas, Taft, and Giwan, Samar. Assistant Professor Marjorie recorded 26 understory floral species divided into 21 flowering species and 6 fern species. Part of her study is to determine the species richness and diversity indices of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan. In addition, she found that the understory plant species from Paranas and Taft sites are highly affected by soil iron concentration and electrical conductivity, whereas plants from Giwan are highly associated with soil pH and other macro and micronutrients.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy September. Welcome back to our CONserve-KAIGANGAN webinar series of 2025. Thank you all for joining us today on our 7th webinar episode. I'm Ryan Navidad, one of the staff of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN, and I'll be your host for today. So, all right, before we start po, let's have our kumustahan. Kamusta po kayo? For the participants, please write your name, your affiliation, and location sa chat box po natin so we can acknowledge your presence. Okay, we have here Sir Rafi Beaver from Native Trees of Palawan Enthusiast. Good morning po. Mukhang madami tayong participants today. We also have Sir Mark Ruelan Solito from DSSC. Good morning po. Sir Gestoni Arellano from Davao del Sur State College. Hi, good morning po. Grabe, from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, we have participants. We also have Ma'am Janice Jr. from Northwestern Mindanao State College of Science and Technology. Sir Kenneth John C. Babaran from University of La Salette. We also have, from DNR, Ma'am Charmaine Bislombre from DNR Senro Socorro Oriental Mindoro. We also have from DNR Senro Dolores Eastern Samar, Sir Alray. Ayan. Okay, ang dami pa po. From Sir Wilson De Panis from IBS UPLB. Uy, office mates. We also have Sir Aline Ray Derillo from DNR Senro Dolores Eastern Samar. Oh, na-mention ko na pala. Sorry. We also have Ma'am Judith R. Chavez from Bicol University. From Davao del Sur State College, we have Ma'am Sherilyn Antique. Sir Ulysses Dalog from Zero Waste Baguio. And I think many more. Di ko na may isa-isa. Ang dami natin. Pero welcome po dito sa 7th webinar of Kaigangan. So again, this webinar happens once or twice a month. So stay tuned po sa ating FB page for further announcements. So I know all of us are excited, but before we begin, we just want to remind everyone that this webinar is recorded. And with this, please take note of the following rules for our decorum. So number 1, kindly keep your microphones muted, especially when our speaker is presenting. Number 2, if you have questions or clarifications during the presentation, please send your questions through the chat box, and we will acknowledge the questions during the open forum. Number 3, there will be a short quiz right after the session. So important po to. Once you have completed the quiz, the link to the evaluation form will be provided, and also the e-certificates will then be sent after completing the evaluation form. So we will be having a quiz, a link for the evaluation form, then yung certificates po for the attendance will be sent to your email. So please make sure po that your email address is valid and correct, as it will be the basis po for sending the e-certificates. So now that we've set some ground rules, we can officially continue with our program. I believe everyone is excited and ready to learn and listen to our speaker. So before we officially call our guest speaker, let me first introduce him. On a personal note, he used to be one of my kuyas here in our office, and he's someone I truly look up to in this field. So without further ado, let me read his introduction. Dr. Jabez is a freelance environmental consultant and GIS specialist with a doctorate in environmental science. He specializes in the fields of landscape ecology, agroecology, and permaculture. He is interested in projects involving Earth observations for scientific research on biodiversity, environment, agriculture, and climate change. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's all welcome Dr. Jabez Joshua Flores to talk about the application of GeoAI in biodiversity conservation.
Hello everyone, my name is Jabez, and today I will be talking to you about drones again. But this time I will focus specifically on GeoAI, or the use of artificial intelligence on geospatial data. To those who have attended my previous webinar, you might be familiar already with GeoNadir. Now they have new GeoAI tools that I will share today along with another software company called Flypix.ai. I hope these new tools will be useful to you in your biodiversity conservation research. Here's the outline for today's discussion. What is GeoAI in the first place? Let me read this definition from Esri. Geospatial artificial intelligence is the application of artificial intelligence fused with geospatial data, science, and technology to accelerate real-world understanding of business opportunities, environmental impacts, and operational risks. Organizations are modernizing operations to run at scale through automated data generation and approachable spatial tools and algorithms. Now, in our case, we will be using GeoAI for ecological and environmental purposes, particularly biodiversity conservation. To continue, Esri describes GeoAI further. In GeoAI, we extract rich geospatial data with deep learning, save time by automating the extraction, classification, and detection of information from data such as imagery, video, point clouds, and text. Perform predictive analysis using machine learning, build more accurate models, detect clusters, calculate change, find patterns, and forecast outcomes with spatial algorithms backed by experts. Detection and classification are two of the main things that we will be exploring today in this webinar. Since the last webinar, GeoNadir, an Earth observation software company, has added new tools to collect more insights from our uploaded drone datasets. Last time, we talked about the potential applications of GeoNadir in forests over limestone research, and we tested GIS tools on an actual dataset in the Philippines from the GeoNadir library. Now let's explore some new GeoAI tools that make drone image analysis more intuitive and efficient. First up is the Magic Wand tool. This tool is like a shortcut for your mapping projects. With just a click, it automatically digitizes features by recognizing similar objects. It's particularly effective for smaller, detailed elements like tree canopies and shrubs, or continuous or homogeneous surfaces like water or sand or soil. By right-clicking desired features, say a particular tree species, an orange dot with a plus sign will appear. To avoid detecting other features on the landscape, left-click on them and a blue dot with a negative sign will appear. Now, what used to take hours manually digitizing and measuring features, GeoNadir can do in just seconds. Next, we have the Feature Finder tool, this one. Similar to Magic Wand, this tool digitizes features automatically. The difference is that it uses text prompts to find and digitize objects on the image. You can type trees, buildings, or cars, and it will detect these automatically. But it focuses only on what is visible in the current frame rather than the entire dataset. It's a great way to target specific areas of interest that require a high level of detail, like forest canopies or coral reefs. Finally, we have the random forest classification tool. In contrast to the first two, this method takes a more comprehensive approach by classifying features based on similarities across the entire dataset. You can classify land cover or land use using this method. You can perform either an object or pixel based classification. It even provides an accuracy report so you know just how reliable the results are. Now, each of these tools offers a unique advantage, making your drone analysis faster and more precise. In the next slides, we'll see a demo of the Magic Wand and the Feature Finder in action. In this Magic Wand demo, we will try to digitize tree canopies. Every time we digitize, an equivalent measurement is given and shown on the left-hand panel. You can create separate layers of these polygons for different tree species. What's great with drone data is that you can see the differences in the color and size of the leaves. When you click the statistics button, graphs will appear to show the area distribution of each species. This method is useful when we use a drone to validate vegetation maps derived from satellites. So here in this demo, I'm just uh, labeling the polygons that we digitized, and then we select both layers, and then we click the statistics tool, and you will see here the measurement of each tree that we digitized. Okay, using the same data set, we will now try the Feature Finder tool. As you can see in the demo, the Feature Finder digitizes all the features that the AI can identify using the text prompt trees. Though this method is faster when digitizing, it doesn't distinguish between plant species yet. Though this works now with plants with more distinct canopies such as coconuts and bananas. So as you can see in this demo, when you type trees, it gives you a measurement of all the canopies that it has detected in this given landscape. From finding and digitizing trees, we go now to classification. To start a random forest classification, or RFC, this is a method of classifying objects on an image. It uses multiple decision trees to identify something. That's why it's called a forest. An RFC uses both vector and raster data to come up with a classification map. The first step is to collect samples of an object using polygons. So in this example, I collected samples of bare ground, of vegetation, of roads, and buildings. You can do this manually, or the magic wand or the feature finder can do the digitizing for you and create the polygons that you need. Once you have decided on your classes, so for example, in this map, our classes is divided into four: vegetation, bare ground, buildings, and roads. You can now run the random forest classification. The RFC will ask you which raster data to use. Now, GeoAI will give you several options on which data to use for the classification. It can be the RGB orthomosaic. It can be the greenest index, especially ideal for vegetation. You can use the digital surface model or the digital terrain model. This is based on height and elevation data. And you can also use a separate height data. You can choose a combination of these rasters or just one. You can also choose whether to use an object-based or pixel-based classification. Now, my advice is just to use one raster or just two rasters at a time. So the RFC will have an easier time looking for the objects that you need. Here's an example of an RFC to look for water hyacinth in Laguna Lake. So we classified the dataset into two, so just water hyacinth and other. So this was done just to isolate which is the water hyacinth and which is not the water hyacinth. For the raster, we used the greenest index data, and the classification here is based on pixel values. So the hyacinth has certain greenest index value. So the random forest classification looked for that and then found it here near the lake shore and on the lake itself. As you can see, it has detected water hyacinth in the lake here, the green dots. Okay, so in addition to GeoAI tools, GeoNadir has also introduced two game-changing features. So the first one is the heat map. It is an effective way to visualize patterns and changes in conservation areas. Now, using vector data, either from uploaded shape files or generated within the GeoNadir ecosystem, using the magic wand or feature finder tools that we learned earlier, the heat map can visualize this using different cell sizes. It really depends on the research objectives, which cell size to use. So in this image, you can see here, we generated a heat map of flooding in a project that we have in Santa Rosa, Laguna. So the same method can be applied to digitize flora and fauna. So in this visualization, you can see where the floodwaters are using this heat map. Okay, now GeoNadir used to be a platform only for drone images, but now we can integrate satellite data to add more context to our monitoring and analysis. Since Sentinel-2 is free, we can add new images at least every 5 days. This is particularly helpful when we are monitoring large areas such as watersheds, protected areas, and conservation areas. But it doesn't stop with RGB images though, like this one. We can also view multispectral imagery in standard false color, which is near infrared or near red and green bands, and false natural color, which is shortwave infrared or SWIR, near and green bands. Unlike the other tools, Sentinel-2 is free, by the way. So even if you do not have a pro account, a professional account in GeoNadir, if you only have a free one, you can still have access to the Sentinel images. So instead of flying the drone to capture large areas of land in our conservation sites or project sites, we can only focus drone data collection in specific areas that need validation based on the Sentinel-2 imagery. Here's an example of that. In this example in Santa Rosa again, we used a standard false color image as a satellite-based map to isolate and visualize vegetation cover. So the vegetation will appear as red. And then we zoomed into an area where the drone image validated the presence of grasses near the lake. So this is near the lake shore. The yellow boundary that you see is a polygon we generated within GeoNadir to outline the entire area captured by the drone. Now, if you switch on to drone view, you can see that there is presence of plants near the lake shore. And if we zoom in further, you can see that this lakeshore area is already inundated by flood. So that's for GeoNadir. I will introduce you to a new software. It's called flypix.ai. So early this year, I was invited to try this online software. And similar to GeoNadir, it analyzes drone data using AI. Now, finding objects on the landscape. So this software allows you to detect objects such as trees, trash, vehicles, and buildings. But what's different with this software compared to GeoNadir? It specializes finding and identifying objects on the ground across the entire data set. Okay, the entire drone data set. Flypix AI allows the user to detect objects in a drone dataset or satellite image, such as trees, vehicles, buildings, and even objects as small as pieces of trash along coastlines. Okay, so I'll explain this using an example. This is for a mangrove area for one project. We will try to count the number of mangrove trees in this data set. So we will collect samples by annotating a few trees in these highlighted regions. So it doesn't have to be a lot. And then under vegetation here, we will label this as a mangrove class to differentiate it from other tree species in our object detection, because we can find several species of plants, of trees in this map, but specifically we're looking for mangrove. So we will label that as mangrove. So we only need a few samples to train the AI model to find our desired species or objects of interest within the coverage of the dataset. Now we can always correct errors whenever the model misidentifies something. So this will take some time looking for your desired species of mangrove that you are looking for, or depending on the project that you have. So we can even be more specific. What species of mangrove are you looking for? So for this example, we're just looking for generally mangrove trees. Okay, so once we have trained the AI model, we can run it. And now in this data set, the AI model has detected 500 supposed mangroves in a 5,000 square meter sampling area. So the entire drone data set is 5,000 square meters. Now we can filter this further and increase accuracy by selecting only those with 90 or 100% confidence. It really depends on the thresholds we set for our research. So you can set it up to 50, 80, but for this example, we set it to 90 to 100. So based on this, they found around 500 trees. So if you remember, GeoNadir's AI tools only detect objects within the current frame of view. So in other words, kung ano lang yung nakikita mo sa screen, yun lang yung nade-detect ng AI. In contrast, when we train the GeoAI model in FlyPix AI, it looks for that specific object or species in the entire data set. So this works for me when counting trees especially. So whenever a project calls for counting a number of, for example, coconuts, coffee trees, I use this tool. Now let's have some examples on fauna. Okay, now, so here are some of my posts from our Facebook group, Drones for Research. So I encourage you to join that group. That is where I post some tutorials and some research about drones and Earth observation in general. And I found these data sets with seabirds on it. So by the way, you have to zoom in very closely to see the birds, because when you browse the dataset library in GeoNadir, you will see datasets that look like this. So you have to zoom in so you'll be able to see the birds, okay, the avifauna. Since the birds are contrasting the white sand background, they are pretty much easy to detect, meaning the AI model can detect these birds easily because they're on the sand. The problem arises when they are camouflaging and blending with the vegetation. So that's where the difficulty starts, when they're blending with their surroundings or the background vegetation. Here's a combination of Magic Wand and Feature Finder tools applied on a sampling area of seabirds. So this is it. And as I was looking for data sets with mammals, kasi the previous examples are all seabirds, it's pretty difficult to look for data sets with wildlife in them, because some data sets don't have descriptions, so you're not really sure what you're looking for. So the seabird data sets, I found these by accident. And even this one, when I was looking for data sets with mammals in them, so I zoomed into this data set, and then I stumbled upon these small goats on this small island. So when you're just looking at the data set, you won't see the goats. So you have to zoom in, and then I found them here. So the drone was flying really high at around 95.60 meters, and the goats are not really visible from that altitude. You have to zoom in to see them. So there aren't a lot of data sets yet with wildlife in them, but the goal is not really to find the animals using the drones because this will disturb them. Rather, we need to fly the drone high in areas where there are reported sightings and do the detection post data collection. Okay, so we will not be able to disturb the ecosystem. Now, it's not just for terrestrial ecosystems. We can also use this in marine ecosystems. We can also look for corals and fish in marine ecosystems. Here's an example of a data set I found, again by accident, captured by Joanne Lee of GeoNadir. So as you can see, the corals are well defined once you zoom into the data set. So the resolution is really good. And then once you have determined that there are corals in this area, you can upload the data set into FlyPix AI and then get some samples of what corals look like and let the AI model do its job. Okay, so this is a particularly big data set. So you have to zoom in and look for these corals if you want to see them in great detail. Here's an example of fish swimming. I'm not really sure what species of fish this is, but at least we know they are present in this coral reef. You can visit this dataset yourself using the link shown on the screen. So to log into GeoNadir, you only need your email, no password needed, and you can view all the datasets there in the Fair Global GeoMap. You can even save the raw images and the orthomosaics by right-clicking on the map and saving it as an image. For FlyPix AI, they have a free option. So if you're just exploring, you want to see how AI models work in object detection, you can try it out by going to the website of FlyPix AI. Now, depending on the objective, the researcher can use either GeoNadir or FlyPix AI or both. GeoNadir excels in data management and sharing insights quickly. FlyPix AI, on the other hand, can be used in finding objects in large datasets. If the objective is either conducting a survey or inventory of species, FlyPix AI is recommended. But if you are working with several data types like drone and satellite data, even ground data, photos from the ground, GeoNadir is recommended. You can download datasets in GeoNadir and upload it to FlyPix AI for object detection. So that is currently how I'm using both software. While GeoAI is a cool and convenient new tool for us researchers, we must first ask ourselves why we need GeoAI in the first place. It should be clear to us why we need this technology because AI itself is not good for the environment. We must choose how we use GeoAI and use it only for important things such as teaching and research, and not for generating memes or other things that are less important. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. Here are some examples of my tutorials and workshops with wildlife students from UPLB. So sometimes they visit me and then we conduct drone flying workshops and drone mapping workshops. And we look for plants, for animals in vacant fields. So if you're interested in conducting this, please feel free to contact me here at bit.ly/jmf, or you can email me at jabezflores@gmail.com. And before I go, I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for GeoNadir tutorials at Angus Maps and join Drones for Research on Facebook. Thank you everyone for listening and see you later at the Q&A.
Thank you very much for that insightful and engaging talk, Sir Jabez. I'm sure our participants not only enjoyed it but also gained knowledge from your expertise. So truly, no, GeoAI, it seems even our forests are starting to get their own smart assistants. So now let's proceed na po sa Q&A. Please make sure to type your questions in the chat box and I will read them for you. While you are doing so, allow me to read some of the questions we got from the pre-registration for our speaker. So, Sir Jabez, there's a question from Ulysses Dalog from Zero Waste Baguio Incorporated. This question is, what are the advocacy challenges you faced and how you tackled them in relation to biodiversity promotion? Once again, what are the advocacy challenges you faced and how you tackled them in relation to biodiversity promotion?
Challenges, no? So in particular sa use of drones and GeoAI. Itong GeoAI medyo bago pa eh. So, actually, this is the first webinar na promote ko tong mga tools na to kasi it's relatively new. Actually, meron pa akong mga ibang ginagamit na hindi ko sinama sa webinar kasi nasa beta stage pa lang. Siguro next time. But the challenges, especially for the use of drones, no, in biodiversity conservation, is yung acceptance nitong technology na to. Kasi first of all, hindi naman tayo lahat familiar what drones can do yet, no? Kasi in the mainstream, we know that we use drones for videography, especially sa mga events or weddings. Or on the negative side, ginagamit to for warfare. Pero sa ating mga researchers, students, scientists, hindi pa siya talaga ganun ka-common, no? Medyo takot pa tayong i-explore yung capabilities nito for Earth observation. Usually tayo sa training natin sa school, we're taught to use satellite images for our GIS, remote sensing. Pero drone as a primary tool for remote sensing and GIS, medyo bago pa to sa atin. And it's not because na nahuhuli tayo sa technology nito. It's because bagong-bago pa kasi itong technology na to. Yung mga drones na gamit natin ngayon, gamit ko ngayon, wala pa to nung pandemic. Okay, so it's good na we stay on top of these kinds of technologies and use it for good. Now, for advocating for this, here in Los Baños na I have no problem or I have no barriers sa pag-promote nito. Actually, the LGU of Los Baños itself is helping me promote this technology. Sa UP, UPOU, UPLB, very open to this kind of technology. Siguro in other places pa no, na wala pang mga champions on this kind of technology, doon tayo mahirapan. Kasi ang isa sa mga issues dito sa use of drones and GeoAI is safety, data privacy. So ito yung mga issues na may encounter natin as we explore this technology.
Okay, thank you, sir. So another question is from Baby Jean Herbulario from Tarlac Agricultural University. Her question is, what are the most accessible GeoAI tools or platforms for beginners in biodiversity research? And how does GeoAI handle data gaps, especially in areas with limited biodiversity survey? So once again, what are the most okay.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ryan. That's a good question. Actually, yung GeoNadir, no, kaya ko siya nakita. Actually, sa LinkedIn ko siya nakita. Kasi una-una free kasi siya. So that really drawn me dun sa software na to. Although yung mga features na discuss ko kanina, yung iba doon paid, no, you have to have a premium account. Eventually, after using GeoNadir for a year for free, I decided to get a premium account of my own kasi I wanted to do more things. Pero if student ka or researcher na who wants to go into biodiversity conservation research, no, GeoNadir is a good place to start kasi first of all, ang dami na ng datasets all over the world, not just sa Philippines, no? So if teacher ka, tulad ko, science teacher ako dati, kumukuha ako ng mga examples of different ecosystems sa GeoNadir in high resolution kasi all the datasets, all the images in GeoNadir are free. Okay, so you just go to the website and you download those images as an orthomosaic or download individual images. So that's a good place to start. For those na hindi pa talaga familiar no, on drone imagery, you think of it as para siyang Google Earth. Ganun lang din siyang i-explore. So you explore the map, you zoom in, zoom out. Ang difference lang dito sa GeoNadir is yung detail, no? It's from drones. So especially tayo, if you're doing biodiversity research, we're looking for particular species of plants or animals. Magandang tool to kasi like yung sa example ko kanina sa lecture, kahit yung mga seabirds nakikita. Actually, I have a data set here na nakita kahapon. Merong sea cucumbers, no? So that's underwater pa. So that's how the sensors in drones have improved no over the years. You can even see things underwater. Um, Plus yung nagdagdag ang GeoNadir only a few weeks ago, Sentinel-2 imagery for free, no? Used to be na mahirap i-access ang Sentinel-2 imagery, or you have to go to the Copernicus website. Pero si GeoNadir naka-integrate na yung Sentinel-2 doon sa platform niya. So that means na pwede mo na pag i-layer, no, i-overlay yung drone imagery mo sa Sentinel-2 imagery. Okay, so that's two types of data na you have access na for free. So that's really exciting. That's really exciting for us, especially kung nagsisimula pa lang tayo sa ganitong klaseng research.
Thank you, sir. So, grabe nga yung exponential improvement kung i-explore lang talaga tong GeoNadir.
Yeah.
So, let's now entertain at 3 questions from Zoom. So, first, we have Sir J.R. Chavez from Bicol University. His question is, can Magic Wand identify all or any tree or only the common trees like coconut or nara?
Okay. Actually, the labeling, hindi siya yung na-identify niya na yung tree species. Although meron ng existing technology na nag-identify ng tree species. Sa Magic Wand, ikaw yung mag-identify pa rin. So what it does is it digitizes for you. Kumbaga, na-identify niya yung differences between canopies ng puno. So for especially dun sa mga canopies na talagang magkaiba yung itsura nung canopy. Pero ikaw dun sa workspace mo sa GeoNadir, ikaw yung magse-set. Ito yung mga nara, ito yung mga coconut. So hindi pa na talaga na-identify yung mga species. It's still up to the user, no, which ones to digitize as a certain species. Okay, pero yung nag-ID, nag-exist na yon, hindi pa lang siya nag-mainstream sa atin, pero meron na yan, meron na siya. Wala pa siya sa GeoNadir, siguro in the future magkakaroon. I think, sino nagtanong? Si JR. Ang pinakamalapit na dyan is si Flypix AI. Kasi sa Flypix AI, you can create your own AI models. Ibig sabihin, katulad ako, gumawa ako ng model for coffee detection, specifically Robusta. And then, meron din akong papaya detection model. So, yung mga tops ng papaya makikita mo. And then, you can apply that model in any other dataset na i-upload mo. So yun. So you have to build it on your own, no? To do detection models of certain species if you want to identify species. So ano pa rin siya. May pagkamano-mano pa rin, pero yung pagbibilang, yun yung na-automate natin, tsaka yung pag-identify.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
So I think mag-entertain na tayo ng last 2 since limited time. So for those na hindi pa masasagot yung question na the chat box, you can PM sir or email him since binigay naman yung details. So last 2, from Sir Bernard John Prudenciado from UST. First question, are there ethical concerns when using geospatial in biodiversity monitoring?
Yeah, yung ethical dyan is when you ask permission to fly over certain spaces, especially protected areas, conservation areas, kasi may nagmamanage na mga places na to, so you just can't go there and fly your drone. Of course, sa satellite imagery, covered naman yan lahat. Pero when you do drone mapping, meron tayong mga protocols na sinusunod dyan before you do your research. Even if estudyante ka lang, no, doing research for school, you have to go through the proper channels. Like for example, yung LGU, barangay, yung park na nagmamanage ng site kung saan ka magko-collect ng data. Okay, so just that's for your own safety then and the safety ng drone mo. Kasi first of all, we would like to avoid hitting helicopters, birds, or small planes with your drone. So it's a good thing na when you do your drone data collection, you come there announced. Okay, so makikipag-coordinate yung mga local authorities na kung sino man, baka meron din silang sariling drone doing operations para hindi mag-conflict. Okay, so ganon. Especially I would like to add din pala something on using drones. Um, Pag nagpapalipad ka ng drones for recreation, hindi mo kailangan ng lisensya. So for example, nagva-vlog ka lang for your vacation. Okay, so sa ngayon no, medyo maluwag ang ating Civil Aviation Authority sa mga recreational users, no. Mas mahigpit sila sa mga lisensyado doing mapping, no, yung doing mapping. So sabihin ko lang, if you're using your drone for recreation or even for your own research for school, I advise na magpaalam pa rin kayo even though you're not required by law. Okay, kasi what we're trying to do and what I'm advocating for also is drone safety. Kasi we're trying to avoid accidents na ang cause ay drone. Kasi pag may na-aksidente dyan, baka super malimitahan na tayo sa paggamit ng drone. No? Ayaw natin yun mangyari. Okay, so we have to be safe and prioritize safety. If you're gonna fly the drone for your research, tell the people around you, know, get the clearances na required to fly your drone, especially pag nasa protected area ka na may mga sensitive places. Okay. Go there announced. So ayun.
Thank you, sir. So, sorry, last one ng question na po tayo. Oh, we have here from Papua New Guinea. So, from Mark Tina of National Agriculture Research Institute. His question is, have you tried fusing the Sentinel multispectral images into the drone image? So, yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. In GeoAI, not exactly fusing or dissolving, no, but you can overlay the drone imagery with the Sentinel. So for example, the Sentinel-2 imagery has a 10 by 10 meter resolution. So it only appears as like one pixel, one block. So if you want to get more detail within that 10 by 10 meter space, you can zoom in until it pixelates and then turn on the drone imagery. And then you can see the composition within that 10 by 10 meter pixel. So that's how I'm using drone imagery with multispectral. Actually, there's another one. I think I mentioned this in the lecture earlier. When you do your initial scoping for an area, for example, you're doing a vegetation study, and then you saw in the Sentinel-2 multispectral images that a certain area is identified as vegetation and you want to inspect it further. So I use the multispectral imagery to determine which areas I have to do my drone survey. Okay, so it's a way of validating what the Sentinel-2 has seen. Okay, so I'm using my drone as a validation tool, not exactly mapping the entire thing because that would be impossible and very costly. So when we use our drone, we actually validate the things that the satellite sees. Or for example, in our case here in biodiversity conservation, we're particularly interested in identifying specific species which sometimes you cannot see with satellite imagery, especially if you're counting individual species. That's where the drone imagery comes in. I hope I answered I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Jabez. So for those people na hindi nasagot yung question, you can just PM or email Sir Jabez, or I think Sir Jabez can answer dito sa ating chat box. And also, sir, mga last question, may nagtatanong lang, pwede nyo daw po ba i-share? Can you share your presentations? Kasi gusto nila.
Yes. Actually, I will upload this. Actually, you will also upload this, Ryan, in your YouTube channel. Yeah, this will be uploaded in their YouTube channel, and when it's available in the YouTube channel, I will upload it also in my YouTube channel. So you can access it here. I will post the link to my YouTube. It's called Angus Maps. So here. The presentation will be available here, so I put it in the chat box in Zoom and also in Facebook.
Okay, so and for those people who want to get a copy of the presentation, you can visit their channel, and also our channel, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, will be uploading this on our YouTube channel. So
Mhm.
once again, thank you, Dr. Jabez, for that very engaging and lively discussion. So I think we have covered all the questions given the limited time na. So let's now proceed to the presentation of the certificate of our guest speaker. Let me just read the citation. University of the Philippines Los Baños Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Dr. Jabez Joshua M. Flores in recognition of your valuable contribution as the resource speaker for the webinar entitled The Applications of GeoAI in Biodiversity Conservation, conducted under the CONserve-KAIGANGAN Biodiversity Webinar Series on September 9, 2025 via Zoom. So signed by our project leader, Dr. Maria Celeste N. Hilario.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Doc.
for inviting me again.
So at this juncture, for all of us here, kindly open your cameras for our photo op. Oh, before our photo op, let me just announce our next webinar. So if you had fun this time, you can also join us next month. Join us on October 14 next month for a webinar on flora of the Davao region with Assistant Prof. Sir Aaron Froilan Raganos from UP Mindanao. So don't miss the chance to learn about the region's rich plant biodiversity. All right, at this juncture po, let's open our cameras for photo ops. Thank you everyone
Thank
again for
you.
joining us. Feel free to reach out to Sir Jabez for any questions on Carlton Station. So before you leave, please do not forget to scan the QR code or visit the link show on your screen for the quiz form, which will be linked to the evaluation form. So ito na po, yung time ng mga nagtatanong po. For the attendance, there will be a quiz. So kindly scan na lang po the QR on our screen. So thank you everyone and see you again on our next webinar and enjoy the rest of the day. Once again, I'm Ryan Navidad and thank you for coming. See you next month.
Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taf, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DNR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forest over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar-KAIGANGAN.